it's Terry Gaines. I'm going to give you some assembly tips on creating this fun fold standout card using the Hello Cupcake, a 2019 Stampin' Up! Sale-a-bration stamp set. It's free with a $50 purchase until the end of March. So we have a few more days to get this stamp set. It's really cute. Let me show you how to make this card. We need a card base that's 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4 and 7 1/4. So that's in half, and then another score line about 1 1/4 from this fold. I'm going to use the marble background stamp to stamp the entire front of the cardstock. With the background stamps, I leave them flat on the table, rubber side up. I take my ink pad. The cardstock color is Flirty Flamingo, and so is the ink pad. And so we're just tap, tap, tapping. You don't want to push hard because you want the ink always on the surface of your stamp. When you push hard, it gets into the crevice and you lose the nice detail you get. So before I get started, I'm actually going to take a scratch paper off, or a piece of paper off this pad, because I'll need a scratch paper. So I've got the stamp all inked. The side with the score line is the side I'm going to put down to the ink. This is a full-size card, so it's really close to the same size as the stamp. So what I do is I hold it closed, take the fold side, and put it really close to the edge of the stamp, and looking at the top and bottom to make sure I see part of the stamp. I want to make sure I see a little bit of the stamp on the top and the bottom. That way I make sure that I get a good coverage on the entire front of the card. Put the scratch paper down and use the flat of your fingers and apply pressure to get a well-inked cardstock. So I always tend to forget the corners, so be sure you get the corners. Flats of your fingers work better than the tips of your fingers to get that good coverage. Take away the scratch paper, and we'll take this off, and there we have the entire front of the card covered. So next, what I'm going to do is take the score line and fold it up. I'm going to take a paper snips and cut approximately 1 1/4 inch, 1 3/4. It can be approximate, it doesn't have to be exact, but we want to create a tab here. The remainder of this is we're going to tear off. So I'm just going to start tearing towards the top and curve to the edge and create a torn look here. To add some color here, I'm going to use a Stampin' Up! Sponge. They are 3 in a package. They're circular. I cut mine into quarters. I can hold on to that, dab it into the ink pad, and just add some color to the edge of the paper. That just kind of finishes it off and adds nice color to it. Then what I'm going to do is take a piece of cardstock, Whisper White, that is cut 1/4 inch smaller than the card base. So it is cut to be 4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to use a Stampin' Up! Adhesive and apply that here. And this will be the inside of our card. So what I'm going to do is just look at these 3 sides and equally space the sides and the top, and then the other side will fall into place. So we're going to set that aside and work on the cupcake piece. So there's 3 layers to this cardstock. 2 Flirty Flamingo, and I wanted to add the color, this darker color in. So I actually took this piece and just sponged some color. That's going to give me a darker edge to it, so it almost looks like I have a contrasting color, but actually it's the same color cardstock with the same color ink pad or ink. So I'm going to look at the 2 opposite corners, and what I have for these are one is 3 7/8 by 2 5/8, and the other one is 3/16 inch smaller, so 2 7/8 by 3 1/16. You can go to my blog and I'll have all the dimensions right there. The Whisper White cardstock is 2 1/4 by 3 1/2, and this is where we're going to stamp the cupcake. So the other colors for this project are the Coastal Cabana, and I'm going to stamp the cupcake paper in this. So I'm going to stamp this towards the bottom, and I'm going to center the cupcake paper, not the stamp itself, on the center of the paper. Go ahead and stamp that. And then the next color is Daffodil Delight, and that is for this little piece, this little image, which is actually the cake part, stamp that. The next stamp is going to be the frosting for the cupcake. Now I want this to be a lighter color, so I'm going to stamp off first, and I want my cupcake frosting to be higher, so I'm going to stamp this up towards the top of my paper. And then what I've done ahead of time, I stamped it on scratch paper and I trimmed around the bottom. That's going to allow me to do some masking, and that'll allow me to fill in the rest of the cupcake frosting. We'll stamp off, and now I'll stamp it, lining it up to the cake. And now I have a taller frosting. The next is the sprinkles. Use the same color, so this ink has been Flirty Flamingo. I'm going to start at the bottom of the cupcake and stamp that, and then another set of sprinkles. This allows me to not stack my sprinkles on top of each other. The last stamping I'm going to do is I trimmed actually a little bit off of this top. We'll take the little heart on the little stick, and we'll stamp that right like that. The last thing I want to do is fill in the sprinkles with some ink, and usually you can use a blender pen. I'm actually going to use a Wink of Stella. Wink of Stella's got a little bit of glimmer in it, and I want to add some ink to it, so I'm going to just take a stamp, clear block, and get some ink on it, and then transfer the ink from the block to my project with the tip of the Wink of Stella. This way you get a little bit of shimmer in your sparkles or your sprinkles, a little sparkle in your sprinkles, and just continue like so. And when you're done, just clear it off until it's clear and you're ready to use your Wink of Stella for another project. So I put this on the paper ahead of time, and what I'm going to do is just put adhesive right on this tab. The standout image, which is the cupcake in this case, is going to line up to the bottom of the card. Place that down. While the card is closed, I'm going to take my sentiment and stamp it right in this open area. And there we have our Fun Fold Standout card. If you found me via YouTube, look in the comments section for a direct link to my blog post where you'll find the supply list, measurements, and instructions for this project. There's a PDF you can download and a direct link to my Stampin' Up! Store to purchase the supplies. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed creating this project with me.